these are, I think, native poppies. I didn't plant them there. They also came sort of by themselves.
Okay.
And they weren't here last year, so they
All
blow in
right.
the wind.
Let's walk around this way and
Blow in the wind.
kind of down the path
This,
then.
of course, is barberry. Barberry. I can get used to this, Tom.
You're the star of the show here.
Now, Kit Marcinko was the one who kind of designed these plants and everything. This was, the road used to be out front
Yes.
of my house, and so he came, and I hired him to do some landscaping. He put the barberry in and put these, they get really red in the summer, in the fall. They're beautiful. And then those are the Nugo pines, 2 of them.
Okay.
So we have Kit to thank for that.
And you have behind you.
Behind me are the California poppies. And the birds, years ago, dropped the seeds because I never did a thing. And here they are, multiplying every year. Never need watering, of course. So it's just, and this is a relic from somewhere in the island that Kit found and put there. You know how he likes his ironwork.
Yes, that's for sure.
So,
Okay.
so here we go. And this house has gone through many metamorphoses. Lots of chapters. Started out with an old pink house that got torn down, and so on it goes. That garage has only been there a few years, and lots of additions. And
Do you remember who you bought from?
Johnson, the last name was Johnson, and they were from Seattle, and that's all I can remember. And it was a loan. We assumed their contract, and they were living in Ballard, and the contract was $50 a month at something like 6%, and for $10,000, it didn't take too long to pay it off.
Yeah. Very good.
Okey-dokey.
Well, last time I was here, we talked about this tree, and I said, I better hurry. And it looks to me like already some of the blossoms have gone a little bit.
Absolutely, that's a Styrax japonica. Kit Marcinko told me about it, and I think he helped me plant it there, and it's also known as a Japanese snowbell. Isn't it wonderful? And it has a nice scent. It's a dark purple lilac that I planted a few years ago. So, this is the garden shed here. This is a potato vine. It's not doing too well at the moment, but so. Becky Stinson also helped me put a lot of native plants in. This gets orange in the summer. Now most everybody will know the name of that, except I don't remember what it is. It's Crocosmia orange, or red I should say, and the hummingbirds love it. Love it. They love it. And so do I. This is some mint that just kind of appeared, and if you want mint to take home to put in your water, you can have some of that. This is something that I planted many long years ago, and it didn't come up for years. It's a lovely white flower, and I don't remember the name of it, Tom. Somebody on the island would know. And it's probably a native or something. It's nice white flowers. Some of these, all of these foxglove are just naturally, and they're just naturally along the edge of the shed. I can't believe it. And these old windows were from an old place in Mount Vernon. And Heather has painted them nicely, and I've had people stay in the house. And so there you go. This one is it has the lovely scent in the spring. It comes out in flowers. Sometimes I don't always remember the names, and I know what it is, Tom. You know.
I have a hard time just remembering my name.
Exactly. And when I think of it, I'll tell you, and that's my pesticide-free zone sign.
hoping I could get a bee coming in and out of that.
Oh,
But
they are just wonderful. I love them. There's one right there going in that one. All of these are volunteers that sometimes I take out, but I decided this year I want to grow. Just let them go. Just let them roll.
you're doing well.
This is a native honeysuckle. This is the same type of honeysuckle that Edith has all across her front fence.
And they are native to the island?
Yes, well, I don't know to the island, but they're native, as opposed to whatever else.
Okay.
Mariana has taught me about planting as much native stuff
Mhm.
as I can. So, this is lavender, and that's rosemary, and this is what's called lipstick salvia. It's kind of a perennial.
Mm-hmm.
Lavender is all over the place here. That's one of the best drought-tolerant plants. Do you have some?
I have a little bit, yeah. I
Good.
put in 2 plants this spring.
Good,
So,
wonderful. This is the climbing rose, and it got black spots, so I've had to take off some of them. But it just smells like heaven.
I can smell it from here.
Oh, it's wonderful. I think it's called compassion, and it's very nicely scented. So now, where would you like to go?
Let's just walk a little circle around your garden
I
in
want to
here.
show you this gate. I used to have a nice wooden fence that didn't look so great. And Drew said, oh, he has a gate that he could just give me. Can you imagine this nice gate he had in his junk
Yeah,
pile?
and just right too, huh?
Yeah, and my brother helped me install it, and he put this block of wood and it goes like that. I love it. So here we are, in the midst of more foxglove than you'd ever want to have. And the blue flower is left over from a hanging basket that I had many years ago. And so I just put it in the ground and look at it, it's multiplied.
And what's this blue
This
flower
is
here?
delphinium, and I just cut some of them back. They were very tall, but if you cut them back, then they'll kind of continue to go. And they were up to here, delphinium, and poppies. I've got more seeds planted in here, wildflowers, and so here we go.
So this is recently you had veggies in here then?
Yes, I have in the past. I've got my veggie garden over there. I'll show it to you. This is called borage. And you can eat that, apparently, according to Sue O'Donnell. Of course, I never have it. It came in a wildflower mix that was over here. It's my compost bin. I love it. Because these little doors open from each side, and you just turn it, and I've had it for dozens of years. It's just great. It's all I need. And moving right along, this is Heather's strawberry patch. Then the plants came from Carol Steffi. So, this is leftover wildflowers that I planted last summer, and the yellow ones were over here last year, but now they're over here. So.
And you didn't move them?
No, I didn't.
They just...
They just moved over themselves. And these are some wild sweet peas that Becky Stinson planted here one year. These.
Yeah, they're pretty prolific.
Yeah, they're kind of around the island, and I cut them back a lot, and so. And then the snapdragons are every year. And Sue O'Donnell kind of put some of the flowers along the edge, as well as Carol Steffi. And so. Next is the little bistro set.
It's that bistro.
Yeah, it's a bistro. No, it's a bistro, but it could be a bistro. So the thing goes up and down easily. And now we're going to move into vegetables.
Okay.
That's a peony plant that's gone by.
Mhm.
And
I recognize that.
yeah, good time. I needed to find out about you. These are the tall, old-fashioned flower that Sue O'Donnell planted along here.
Are they hollyhock?
Yes, they're hollyhocks. Thank you, Tom. Good job.
Okay. You've heard my extent of my gardening.
These are sweet peas, you know, I mean the flowers.
Hmm.
They're kind of late, but and these are swallow all the sweet onions. And this is a whole bed of zinnias. They'll come out in lovely flowers, and you can cut those. Those are an annual.
Ooh.
I don't know the names of these other flowers. They're just in a different wildflower mix from about 2 years ago, I think. So, and we just, I just got that little table last year at Christensen's, and then I found an umbrella to put in it, so snap peas along there. But
Okay.
you eat the pod.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of late too. There's another planting of the little snap peas along here. Those are very slow. These are potatoes.
I recognize those
And
too.
off the record, you can tell me how to hill them up more. I guess I have to hill them up more.
You're supposed to hill them up just to get more potato growth, but
Yeah,
I don't
you
usually
can
hill
see
mine.
how, there's nothing to hill them up against. Now, this is an exciting part of the garden. This is my first time to have a raised vegetable garden.
Oh,
And this whole thing came from Home Depot, and it came in the mail in a box. Very easy to assemble. 2 girls, 2 women, assembled that thing in a heartbeat. And you just slide these things into the posts that have grooves. It could go higher if you had higher posts. And it's cedar, so there's no preservatives or anything like that. So exciting. There's kale and chard and Walla Walla sweets, and string beans haven't started to. I wanted to uncover them for you, but it's kind of
that's okay.
a hassle. So anyway, I've got some lovely bok choy. It's in here. And just grand things, wonderful things. I just planted these sunflowers along here that are in the little peat pots.
Oh,
I started them inside the shed. I just finished planting those before you came, and I thought just for a while I'll cover them over because the sun is kind of going to hit them. You know all about that stuff. That is a tomato plant that was in the soil that was in this raised bed that I had brought over and dumped a big pile of it. So anyway, we don't know what that tomato plant is. That's honeysuckle, a different honeysuckle over there. And I think these yellow flowers are calendula. And they bloom year after year, all summer long. So, pretty good.
yeah, and they spread
They do.
very fast.
Yeah, you probably have some. Now this
I
is
do.
This is a jasmine. It,
Oh.
it hasn't come out into bloom yet. This is the 3rd year.
Okay.
Did you know that when you plant new plants, the first year it sleeps, the 2nd year it creeps, and the 3rd year it leaps? Did you know that?
No, I do now though.
That's a Roz Glasser statement that I have internalized. And so the little buds look like they're going to come out and flower finally.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of putting, I think it's potassium in there or something, you don't want nitrogen very much.
Yeah.
And so some of those other
Is
things-
that catnip down below there?
It's cat mint.
Cat.
Mint. Cat
Really?
mint, yes.
Does it smell like?
Well, I'll let you smell it. And it comes back every year.
It does have that minty.
Oh, that's nice. All right. There were some beets in there too, golden beets and red beets, and so exciting. So much easier, Tom, to have a raised bed. I see you out there with your gorgeous garden with the nice row. I'll come and look at your garden. So-
Yeah, I wish you would have stopped today when you came by.
Well, I was kind of on a,
Mission.
so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would definitely stop. So here we are, and pretty much that's the thing that I stuck there. But what I'm going to do here, Tom, is I'm going to put another Styrex japonica here so that you can still see through the limbs out to the view and have a nice, it'll add a lot of atmosphere to this garden. And I want to get a fairly good sized one,
Mhm.
but I'll need help in digging the big hole. I'll get like Drew or somebody to help me,
Mhm.
and I want to have a tree. It'll provide a little shade, which I don't need, but
Okay, good.
now,
Shall we go sit down and talk a little bit?
yes, and it can be however you want me to be, as long as, you know.
I want you to be right there.
This
Okay.
is an owl, because I like owls.
Okay, this is Juneteenth, 2020. I'm here with Joan Palmer, and we're going to do a little bit of interview about her life on the island. So let's start out. Where were you born?
I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey.
And when did you come to the Pacific Northwest?
I pioneered out here in my Volkswagen Beetle after I was living in Cambridge for a while, and I came in the 60s.
In the 60s. And to Seattle then?
Yeah, I didn't know anybody, and I had a friend ride out with me, and then she flew back.
Oh.
I looked at a map, and I wanted mountains and water, and I had
And
decided on here.
And you got it here, right?
Down in Seattle, right.
And you have it here too, though.
Yes,
You look
this
across
was
the water.
after a while.
Yes. So, what did you do for a living then?
Well, I came out to go to graduate school, and so I went to Antioch University eventually. I didn't know at the time that's where I'd be going, but I wanted to get my master's degree in psychology, and that's what I did. And so down in Seattle, though, I had different jobs.
Okay. And then did you teach once you got your...
No, I didn't, but I worked in community mental health.
Okay.
I worked at Seattle Mental Health Institute and Skagit Mental Health. So, working in community mental health rather than a private practice.
Okay. So did you, how did you find Guemes then?
Well, that's a pretty long story. When I got out to Seattle, I met my future husband at it was an arranged date with his brother and his brother's fiance, and we kind of hit it off on a New Year's Eve. And then his name was Pat Palmer, and so eventually we got married. He got drafted into the Army, and then and that was back in Virginia. So we got married in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I had been from after I lived in New Hampshire. But so we got married in Cambridge and lived in Arlington, Virginia, while he was fulfilling his stint in the Army, and I worked for a company right near the White House, actually, just doing manuscripts for this guy that was writing some research. And
So you were doing research, or were you doing...
well, I wasn't doing the research. I was typing up all of his notes, and
Okay.
I guess he would dictate them, and so he got some things published, and then pretty soon Pat got discharged from the Army.
Was that during Vietnam, or...
It was
Just prior?
it was sort of in that era. He was going to go to he was going to go to Germany, but then he when he did his training in Virginia, he got diabetes, so he eventually got a medical discharge. We were there in Virginia for a year, and then he got discharged from the Army, and we moved out to Seattle, where his brother was and where I'd been living before I met him. And so then I saw an ad in the Seattle Times for somebody to teach at a private school on an island up in, the island was called Cypress Island.
Keep going, I'm going to check this, make sure.
So I had, he didn't want to apply for the job. It was to be an English teacher, and that was his field. So I said, well, I'm going to write a letter and to see if they could get an interview with you. So eventually he got hired to be at Secret Harbor as a teacher. And we lived over there for 3 years at the boys' school. It was a school for emotionally disturbed teenage boys. And so we were there for 3 years, and one of the teachers who was leaving the island when we were coming had rented a house on Guemes, and they invited us over for lunch one day on Pat's day off. So we came over, and had lunch there, and we kind of explored around the island, and Pat said, oh, I think we should live over here after we leave Secret Harbor, because his goal was to build houses, sell them, and build a house and sell it. Well, so we got this property, and we tore down the house on the property, which was this old pink thing, and so we never went beyond this house.
So did that, the house that you tore down, did it sit right here then?
Yeah, it was the same frame. Pat tore it down to the foundation, so it was considered a remodel in terms of the building permit, but we had all the right paperwork in place. But so he built this house that was very different from this one now. It's been added onto, and the roof got changed and the siding and all. But he then had a lot of trouble with his diabetes, and eventually in 1985 he passed away. So I thought I'd sell this place, and then I thought, well, maybe I won't. And so it was on again and off again whether I wanted to sell it. But I, in the meantime, was living in Seattle to get my graduate degree, and eventually got a job at Skagit Mental Health. And so it's been a long haul to live over here full time, but I'm here full time now for the past maybe 20 years. So
tell me about your involvement in the community center, particularly the plays that they put on.
Oh, yes. That's when Pat was still alive. He was a writer as well as a talents, but he wrote a couple of the plays, and Tom Davis was living here at the time. He was not alive now either, but he got people together to try out for the plays that we put on. One was The Mad Woman of Chaillot, and I had a part in that, and another one was a play that Murray Reed had a big part in, and Murray Reed and Ann Casperson. Ann would make me remember the name of that one. It was very well done. And Pat wrote a play called Waiting in Line, and I wasn't in that, but that was put on here, and so we had an awful lot of fun doing plays. And Kit Marcinko did a lot of the stage designs that painted the backdrops, and it was a whole island enterprise where Connie Kelly would do the hair for the people, and it was wonderful.
So did you do several performances then?
I was in The Mad Woman of Chaillot. That was my one play, I think, that I was in, but there were others as well.
But did you put the play on more than one time, or was it
Yes,
a one
there
time?
were several nights that was put on.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was nerve-wracking, but it was fun.
So when did you move onto the island full time then?
It started out after we left Secret Harbor, so it was in the mid-'70s, and
Okay.
then let's see, then it went from there, and then I then got a job working at the refinery as a lab tester, and I had to work all 3 shifts in 1 month. So we had to rent a house over in town. Besides, this one wasn't finished yet. So that was maybe in the, I don't know, late 70s or 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And then that job ran out, or I ran out of it because it was really toxic to test the products in the lab. And so, what else?
What else? What do you like most about living on the island?
I just love getting away to it all. I liked Seattle to live there for a while in the city, but I like the peace. Well, it's pretty peaceful, and of course the community is wonderful. And you remember when Ann Jackets was here, and she put on the talent shows, and we had. Were you here for the talent shows?
No, my wife was
Carol.
in some of the talent shows
Yeah.
when she was really young, so
Oh,
she
good.
remembers those.
And that again was a whole island event to participate in those. And Ann Jackets was so good she raised a lot of money to, for instance, build the bathroom in the community center, and lots of wonderful fundraisers that went along with that. So
Yeah, I didn't know them, but I've heard that name.
yeah, Mike
But-
and Ann Jackets.
Now they're over in town now,
Yes,
right?
they are.
Yes. So I have met her one time.
Mhm.
So
So of course, now with the pandemic, Tom, we can't get together and do these things like we did, so that's kind of hard. But basically, the whole community spirit of helping one another is just rich, isn't it?
have you found that has changed since you
I
came to Island?
feel a little more disconnected.
Is that a process of being older in the community,
Well-
or is it a process? What is that?
I'm not sure. Part of it, of course, as you know, is our isolation now, our distancing, social distancing. But I've been trying to figure that one out too. I think it's that I'm not in a position where I get to know some of the younger people, and a lot of the people who were my cohorts here, sort of were here at the time I was here, aren't here with us anymore. So.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing, is that it's very difficult now, and there's quite a division between the younger population that's coming on the island. We're getting a lot of kids now,
Yes.
which is a good thing, but I still see that distance between that generation and our generation.
I think so. I think a lot of young professionals are moving here, and nothing against that, but people who are maybe part-timers. Now, I can't speak for everybody because I don't know them, and it's not that I don't want to get to know them, but I don't have somehow the opportunity. It's probably my fault.
What would you like to see at the community center? Would you like to see more programs, or is there something that could connect the community again?
Well, that would bear thinking about, but I do think it's an issue that would really be wonderful to, I've thought of a few things, but now I don't know what those would be. I'd have to think about it,
Well, I'd appreciate it if you could think of something
Yeah.
that might help us do that, bridge that
For instance,
gap.
I thought of a simple thing like a spelling bee. Spelling bees seem to attract people of all ages, and heaven knows the kids would maybe still know how to spell. I don't know, but they used to be fun things. We didn't do them here, but I've been in some spelling bees, and
I think that would be a great island-wide.
I do too. And what else was I thinking of, Tom? Something that would be more sort of across the board. I know they've tried other things like trivia. I don't know about trivia. I didn't participate in that because I'm not a trivia. I don't know the facts on things like that. But I just like the idea of bringing people together. And I'm trying to think, well, now, I think putting on more plays would be one way to do it. We've got a lot of talent over here. And
So have you got copies of the plays in your possession, or?
That's been an issue that others have approached me about, and I can't find the Waiting in Line play script. I think I still have the script for the Mad Woman, but that was not written here on the island. It was a purchased right to put that on. And but there would be other people who maybe could. I know somebody's talked to me about this before, and we haven't followed through.
So they're working very hard on the trail from the park to the.
Yes,
Are you in favor of that?
absolutely.
Okay.
And I think Lori Steele is just awesome. She's terrific.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work there. So.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful.
So were you aware that the Humble family has given GICA, the community center, an additional 1.26 acres just to the north of?
I did hear that. That's just super.
It's great.
It's
That's their
wonderful.
third gift to the community. So I thought it was interesting in that their first gift was back in the 50s, and it was actually the parking strip between the church and community center. So, and I didn't know that.
Yes, and of course we share the well with the church,
Mhm.
which is wonderful.
So now, are you active at the church, or?
I'm a member of the church, yes. I'm not on the church council, but I used to be. And I was on, one time I was on the search committee to search for a new pastor. So it's just a wonderful church because it's so all-inclusive.
Yes.
And I certainly am very fond of Sally Balmer, the pastor. And it's bringing the whole, attempting to bring the whole community in, and I think it's really working fine.
Yes, I know Sally a little bit, and that might be a good connection too, to probably bring more of the community together and
I
get the
think
church
so,
involved.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, what else would you like us to know about you?
I'm an old hippie.
You're an old hippie. Okay, that's a good place to start.
It is a good place to start.
Were you active during the protests for Vietnam?
No, I wasn't.
Do you remember them, or did they affect you at all?
No effect. No. I mean, I do know them about them, but I didn't.
Didn't participate. Okay. And what are you thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement now, and
Oh,
what
I
we're
think
seeing
it's
now?
just so important. It's so important what's happening. In a way, this coronavirus, this COVID-19 virus is, I think, my hope is that people will really examine their lives and say, look, I want to do it differently. And you can see it's already working, that the younger generation are so powerful, Tom. They're not willing to put up with all this inequality, and I'm just loving it.
So, are you disappointed with our generation? Because we had that same spark when we were young, where we were active and we voted and we protested or spoke out, and it seems like that generation has kind of been lackluster to me. Hasn't followed through with the initiative we had. And so I'm wondering if this generation that we see now is going to be able to follow through into their older years.
I have a lot of hope. I think they're very smart people, and they're very concerned, and I have all the greatest of hopes.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. At times I get pretty demoralized with what's happening in the state of our country, but I still have that hope.
Well, look what the Supreme Court did yesterday. Just absolutely wonderful that DACA
Mm-hmm.
people are going to get to stay, at least until that has another, now we have to do more voting in the Congress and the Senate. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
They could work together. And
Have you been politically active yourself? Have you ever been a member or campaigned for anybody?
yeah, well, silently, I did campaign for Bernie Sanders. We have a lot of respect for him. And like so many of us, we're disappointed, but I think Bernie is still out there making his positions known as a senator. I think there's a lot of hope there too.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's enough for this time. Maybe we'll come back and have another chat later
Yes,
on.
thank you, Tom. I'm not good at talking about myself. It's just that my basic thing is that I just love people.
Before we wrap it up then, what would you like to have people know about your flower patch out here?
Oh, I want people to see these beautiful wildflowers. It's a little meadow. It's something like 20 by 30. Is that what you'd estimate, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But I put it in there because I just wanted to decrease the amount of lawn I have, and plus I listen to Gardener's World with Monty Don. It's a British program, and I see it on BritBox, and he's all for wildflower gardens, for example, to attract the beneficial insects, bugs and butterflies and bees especially, pollinators. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll put in this beautiful flower garden, and where are the bugs going to come from? Well, they found it.
They do, don't they?
They
Nature
find
has
it.
its
It's
way.
wonderful. So I don't have to worry about, well, where will they come from, because there they are. And so that's one thing I'm trying to do, is have a lot of flowers around to attract the right insects and bees, and it's going to pollen. It's going to be the answer to our food. They need to be around for our food to get pollinated.
For sure.
I think. Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you and the water and the
Thank
flowers.
you, Tom, too. Thank you so much. It's so nice knowing you and knowing what you're doing for the Historical Society, and it's just
We'll
fun.
cut this off now then.